A very good morning, students. Welcome back to online session on programming for problem solving course. In our previous session, we have concluded the operators concept, and after that we started precedence and associativity. And we said whenever more than one operators involving in a single expression, that is nothing but a complex expression. We are calling it as a complex expression. Whenever we have a complex expression to evaluate, okay, there is a confusion between what operator we have to evaluate first and what operator we have to evaluate next. Or to overcome or to avoid this type of confusion, we are studying a concept called operator precedence. So in which we are giving some precedence values to all the operators involving inside a complex expression. So according to the precedence value, the higher the precedence value, the earlier the operator gets evaluated. With this statement, we are doing the expression evaluation, complex expression evaluation. Okay. I mean, at the time of evaluation or when awarding the precedence values to the operators, we come across a situation where more than one operators are having same precedence value. If more than one operator is having the same precedence value, again there is a problem, isn't it? Again, if two operators are having same precedence value, which operator we need to evaluate first? Again, there is a confusion. So to avoid that one, what we have done, we have gone to associativity concept. Associativity is nothing but whenever two or more operators are having the same precedence value, we have to apply the associativity rule. Associativity, it can be from left to right or right to left. Okay. The associativity rule, it is also mentioned inside your precedence table. Okay, so whenever more than one operator is having the same precedence value, we are going for associativity. I mean, after applying the precedence rule, if required, we are going for associativity. So based on the associativity, yeah, we are evaluating the operators. I mean, those who are having conflict in precedence values, only to those operators we are applying the associativity rule. Don't think that we are applying the associativity rule for all the operators inside your complex expression. It is not like that. The operators which are having the same precedence value, conflict in precedence value, to them only we are applying this associativity rule. Okay. So based on the associativity, we are moving from left to right or right to left, and we are evaluating the operators which are having conflict in precedency, which are having conflict in precedence value. Okay. So after that, after the completion, I mean, we have seen the examples as well for this operator precedence and operator associativity. And after that, we started the concept of conditional statements. Okay, control structures in that one, conditional statements. Conditional statements, we said they can be of two-way or multi-way. Quickly, I will go there. Yes. Conditional branching, decision making, or conditional statements in short, we can say. So decision making is nothing but selecting the right choice between multiple alternatives. When you have multiple alternatives, so selecting the right choice is nothing but our decision making. Selecting the right choice is nothing but conditional branching. So in computer, always the decision will be made based on some condition. Okay, whenever you are making some decision, whenever you are selecting the possible path from alternate paths, so what we are doing, we are applying a condition over there. So for a condition, there are only two possibilities. Either it can be true or it can be a false. Okay. Yes, whenever we are having such a case in our program coding, for every possible output of the condition, okay, for every possible output of your condition, we are performing some set of operations. Okay, some set of operations, and those set of operations or those set of actions, either it can be in case of the condition true or it can be in case of condition false. Okay, so how we are calling these actions means the true block and the false block, isn't it? We are calling it as the true block and the false block. Whenever my condition becomes true in my decision making statement or in my conditional statement, simply what I will do, I will evaluate the true block. And whenever the condition goes to false, whenever my condition becomes false, I will evaluate the false block. Okay, so in this way you can remember. So yeah, these conditional statements or conditional branching statements, they are 5 in our C language. We have 5 different conditional branching statements in C language. That is simple if statement, if else statement, nested if else statement, else if ladder or if else ladder, then finally the switch statement. And among all these 5, we said the first 3 are comes under two-way selection. The first 3 they comes under two-way selection, and the sorry first yes for, the last 2 they come under multi-way selection. The last 2 they come under multi-way selection, and this nested if else, it is neither two-way nor multi-way, we can say. I mean, according to our requirement, we can convert it. If you want it to be a two-way, you can make it as a two-way, and if you want it to be a multi-way, you can make it as a multi-way. Okay, so simple if statement, it is only a two-way selection statement. If else statement, it is also a two-way selection statement. Nested if else, as I said, we cannot categorize it. It can be two-way or it can be multi-way, but else if ladder, when you are framing, it is a multi-way selection statement. And finally the switch statement, it can also be a multi-way selection statement. Okay, based on our requirement, what control structure, what conditional statement is suitable for our problem logic, we select that one. It is not something like we have to use all these in every program. It is not like that. So based on our requirement, based on our program logic, what we have to solve, any of these conditional statements we use. Any of these conditional statements we use. Okay, so quickly we start one by one. The first one is simple if statement. Okay, the first one is simple if statement. So if you go there, simple if, what it will do in C, the simplest form of decision making is if statement, simple if statement. Okay, if statement will have a condition helpful in making the decision. As with all your conditional branching statements, this if statement will also have a condition. Okay, a condition which can be either true or false when evaluated. So based on that condition only, either a block of code will be executed or a block of code will be skipped by this simple if statement. There is nothing like in case of false it will evaluate something. There is nothing like in case of false it will evaluate something. Only in case of true it will evaluate some block of code, true block. So the simple if statement, it is going to have only the true block. It is not going to have any false block. Okay, it is not going to have any false block. It will have only the true block. And whenever the condition becomes true, it will evaluate the true block. And whenever the condition becomes false, it will skip that true block. Okay, skipping of true block will be done only with the help of simple if statement. There is nothing like false block in case of your simple if statement. I will frame you the code. I mean, we will discuss one simple program also in this one so that you can understand the simple if statement. Okay, so if the condition is true, then the statement block will be executed. Only this thing we are discussing, and nothing we are discussing when the condition goes false. Okay, if the condition is false, it does not do anything. That is the reason why we are saying it does not do anything, or the statement block is skipped. Which statement block will be skipped? The true block will be skipped. Okay, simply the simple form of if statement will have anything to do in case of will not have anything to do in case of the false condition. Okay, it will not have anything to do in case of false, okay, false condition. It will have something to do only in case of a true condition. Okay, so like this, you remember, simple if statement will not have any false block, it will have only true block, and whenever the condition becomes true, only the true block will be evaluated, and whenever the condition becomes false, the true block will be skipped. That thing only. So here you can see the condition will be given. I mean, how we frame the syntax of this simple if statement, if you see how we are doing, first we are taking the keyword if. Here we are doing that one, so simply you remember this one. So first what we are doing, we are taking the keyword if. We have to write the keyword if followed by take the parenthesis. Okay, take the parenthesis, and in between the parenthesis what we are doing, we are mentioning the condition. we are writing the condition. Okay, in between the parenthesis we are writing the condition, and this condition, as it is a decision making condition, it can have two possible boolean value outputs. It can have two possible boolean value outputs, that it can be true or it can be false. It can be true or it can be false. In case if it is true, then what will happen? The true block will gets evaluated. Here we are mentioning the true block within the curly brackets, or you can see here I mentioned it as statement block. Okay, the complete statement block. So whenever this condition becomes true, this statement block gets evaluated. Whenever the condition becomes true, this statement block gets evaluated. So like this statement block gets evaluated whenever my condition is true, and whenever the condition is false, it is not having anything to do. Whenever the condition is false, what will happen? It will just skip this block. Whenever the condition becomes false, it will skip this block. Skipping of this block will be done. Okay, nothing else it will do. Nothing else it will do. It will simply skip this block. So simply to understand, yeah, here when you are writing, one more thing we need to discuss in case of this simple if statement. So whenever this condition, I mean, whenever you are mentioning the statements inside this if, okay, simple if, you have to, one and only one statement is allowed. Okay, how many statements? One and only one statement is allowed that you can write over here. If you have more number of statements, you can block them, you can compound them by using this compound statement or block of code. Okay, hopefully you understood. So if you have only one statement, no need to use this block. If you have only one statement to write, no need to use this block, and if you have multiple statements to write, then use the statement block. Okay, so that is another thing. Yeah, as you can see the flow chart over here, the condition is the control is entering, then it is checking the condition. Whenever the condition is true, it is going to the body of the if statement. It is going to the body of the if statement. And whenever the condition is becoming false, it is simply skipping the body. What it is doing? It is simply skipping the body. It is not doing anything with the body. It is simply skipping the body and exiting. Here also you can see I took one simple statement, a simple program over here, program code over here. So what I have done, I have taken a value as 10 and b value as 20, and whenever a is greater than b, it will print a value. Whenever a is greater than b, then only it will print a value. Otherwise what it will do, it will just skip this a value, printing a value. Okay, if a value is not greater than b, if a value is lesser than b value, so like this, if you take a value as 10 and b value as 20, then what will happen? This condition, whatever you framed over here, it will become false. This condition will becomes false. Then what will happen? It will skip this this statement. It will skip this statement and it will print only this b value. It will print only the b value. It will not print a value. So if you just switch these two, 20 here you take, 10 here you take, then what will happen? This condition will become true, isn't it? This condition will become true. Then what it will do? It will print both the values. Okay, it will not skip this one. In this case, it will not skip this one. Okay, it will consider this as well as this. So it will print a value as 20 and b value as 10. So I think we have done the program as well for this one. So no issues. Once again, I will open the IDE and I write that program so that you can understand. Already we wrote this one. Okay. So here what I am doing, I am taking two variables, int a equals to 10 comma b equals to 20 we said. So then what I am doing, I am framing the condition. If at all a is less than, a is greater than b. Like this we framed our condition. If this is the case, printf percentile d comma a value you print. Okay, come out of this and printf percentile d comma print b value. So like this. So over here what we are doing, yeah, whenever my condition is true, I am printing a value, and whenever my condition is true, I am printing a value as well as b value. This b value, it will be executed in all cases. Okay, irrespective to this condition response, it will be executed always. So whenever my condition is becoming true, at that point I am printing a value, b value will also be printed. And whenever my condition becomes false, I am skipping printing of a value and I am printing b value. Okay, so likewise. So quickly go and see in this case, in this particular scenario, demo if dot c. Okay, in this particular scenario, in this particular program, my condition is becoming false, isn't it? Because I am saying a is greater than b, but whereas a is less than b over here. A is having 10 and b is having 20. So this condition becomes false. So ultimately what will happen? I will get only the b value. So just to understand which one is a and which one is b, I am keeping b is equals to here and a is equals to here. And just to have a separation, backslash n. Okay. So save this. Now you compile, compilation successful, go and execute. Yeah, in this case you will get only b value. As you can see, we got only b value. B is equals to 20 we got. Okay, so in other case what we will do, we'll make a value as 20 and b value as 10, so as to make this condition true. So now my condition is true, then what will happen? This will be printed as well as this will be printed. A value like 20 we will get and b value like 10 we will get. So save this program and run this program and you can see the output. We are getting a value as well as b value. So whenever my condition is becoming true, it is considering the body of if statement, and whenever my condition is becoming false, it is skipping the body of if statement. So that is how the simple if statement will work. Okay, only this logic you have to understand. Condition is becoming true, body will be considered. Condition becoming false, body will be skipped in case of simple if statement. So then the next type of decision making statement or conditional statement or control statement we have is if else statement. Okay, if else statement, it is a two-way selection statement. So we are going to have two alternate paths, and based on the condition behavior, it is also a condition based statement. So based on the condition behavior, whenever my condition becomes true, it will select the true path, and whenever my condition becomes false, it will select the false path. So over here when I am saying path way, it means the statements which we are giving. Okay, the statements which we are giving inside the true block and inside the false block. So whenever my condition becomes true, it will select the true block for execution, and whenever my condition becomes false, it will select the false block for your execution. So in either case, one of the block will be skipped. Whenever the condition is becoming true or whenever the condition is becoming false, in either case, one of the block gets skipped. So when the condition is becoming true, the false block gets skipped. And whenever the condition is becoming false, the true block gets skipped. Hopefully you understood this. And unlike your simple if statement, here the true block we are mentioning again inside the if statement only. The true block we are mentioning inside the if statement, and the false block where we are mentioning inside the else body. True block will be mentioned inside the if body and false block will be mentioned inside the else body. Okay, body of the else will have false block, body of true will have true block. So this thing you have to understand. So another form of decision making statement is a two-way selection statement. In this, not only the actions for true condition state will be specified, but also the actions for false condition are to be specified. We have to specify two things. In simple if, we specified only the true block, but here you have to specify true block as well as false block. Okay, the expression or condition is followed by if statement must be enclosed in parentheses. Like how we are framing the condition in case of simple if, in the same way we have to frame the condition in case of if else statement also. We have to enclose that condition within the parenthesis, and no semicolon is needed, neither in simple if nor in if else. Don't put the semicolon at the end of if or at the end of else. Okay, so as like simple if condition is true, the if part statements or if part true part will be executed, and if the condition is false, the else part statements will be executed. Okay, and here also you have to put in every block, either it is in true block or it is in false block, it is allowed to put only one statement without curly brackets. Okay, if you don't want to use the curly brackets and if you want to skip those curly brackets, you are allowed to put only one statement. And if you want to put more than one statement, then definitely you have to use that curly brackets. Curly brackets are nothing but block of statement. It is like a bunch of statement. Okay, remember this one. So true block, false block, if part, else part, these terminology you have to make aware. Okay, yourself. So then here you can see this one. So I think here something mistake has happened. Let me just, okay, remove this one. Okay, now the syntax, if you see, if followed by the expression or condition, here we are providing, here you can see, if followed by the expression or the condition, then what we have, else, after that we have body of if, and it is having statement, and else, here also we have statement. Okay, so whenever this expression returns true, then immediate statement will be executed. Immediate statement will be executed, and this will be skipped. This will be skipped. And if this condition becomes false, if this expression becomes false, then what will happen? This one will be skipped. In case of false, only the else part will be evaluated. This one will be evaluated and this one will be skipped. Remember like this. So this side I have written in case of false, and this side I have written in case of true. In case of false, what will happen? And in case of true, what will happen? I have written likewise. Okay, I have written likewise. So here you can understand that one. Expression we are giving in this flowchart, you can understand. Expression we are giving, and whenever this expression is becoming true, whenever this expression is becoming true, then what is happening? Yeah, statement 1 will be evaluated, and whenever this expression is becoming false, statement 2 will be evaluated. And finally, after evaluating either statement 1 or statement 2, the control is meeting at a common point. If it is going in this direction or if it is going in this direction, if it is going in true direction or if it is going in false direction, in both the cases, after evaluating the statements, after evaluating either statement 1 or statement 2, again the control is meeting at a common point. That you have to understand. Again, the control is meeting at a common point. This thing you have to understand. Okay. So in case of expression goes to true, the true block will be evaluated, and in case of the condition becomes false, the false block will be evaluated. And finally, after evaluating either true or false, the control will meet at a common point. Okay, so here, yes, statement 1 and statement 2, they are to be only one statement. They are to be only one statement, and if you want to put more than one statement, you have to use the curly brackets. So in here, we are mentioning only one statement. Statement 1, statement 2, like that I have written. That is the reason why I have not used any curly brackets, any block statement over here. But in this one, as we are saying compound statement over here, you can see, we are saying compound statement. So what do you mean by compound statement? Compound statement is something, it is a bunch of statements. It is a bunch of statements. It is a collection of statements, more than one statement. We call it as a compound statement. So what we are doing by using these curly brackets, as you can see here and here, I used curly brackets, and these two statements, what it will do, it will make it as a bunch, a single entity. It will make it as a single statement. This block, it will make these two statements as a single statement. That is the reason why we are using a compound statement over here. One and only one statement is allowed within the body of if or within the body of else. If you have more than one statements, just make them like a bunch of statement. Just make them like a bunch of statement. How we can make them as a compound statement, bunch of statement, in the sense, simply use these curly brackets. Hopefully you understood. So here in else, as I have only one statement, I am not using any compound statement over here. But here you can see, if this is my true block, okay, then this is my false block. Here in both the cases I am having block of statements. In both the cases I am having block of statements. So I am using curly brackets to make them as a compound statement. I'm using curly brackets to make them as a compound statement. Compound statements are treated as one statement only. This is very, very, very important. So whenever you are framing a compound statement, that complete compound statement will be treated like a one statement, one single statement. So that is the reason why we said either in if block or in else block, we need to have only one statement. And if you have more than one statement, just make it as a compound statement and it will be treated like a one statement only. It will be treated like a one statement only. One and only one. If you read that bottom line, what I have kept over here. So one and only one statement is allowed in each part of if and else. In each part of if and else. Use statement block. Statement block is nothing but compound statement if more than one statement need to be specified. If you have more than one statement need to be specified, just use compound statements to make them like a single statement. Hope you understood this one. So we'll demonstrate a simple program and so as to understand the importance of this if and else statement. So what we do in this program, in the sense, example, program for finding the biggest number in two numbers. Okay, what we do, we will find out the biggest number in two numbers. So it is very simple. I will just go to that over here and I will delete this one. So I will start writing the program. Okay, then stdio.h. Okay, after that take your int main of void. So here what you do, take int a as 10, again b as 20, the same coding I am following. Okay, then here what we have to do, already have initialized a and b values. So simply frame the condition now. If at all a is greater than b, if at all a is greater than b, then printf, okay, percentile d is big. Okay, percentile d is big, and print a over here. Next, in the else part, what we are doing, printf percentile d is big, but over here we print b value. In the first case, we are printing, in the true part, we are printing a value, because whatever condition we are framing over there, if that condition becomes true, what it means? A is big. It means A is big, isn't it? So we are printing the same thing using the printf function. Then inside the else part, when the else part will be evaluated, when this condition becomes false. Whatever condition you specified here, if this condition becomes false, at that point of time, the else part will be evaluated. So when this condition becomes false, what your intention to print? My intention over here is to print b value as big. So that I am doing over here. Percentile d is big, and that percentile d is nothing but my b values. The same thing I am doing over here. So whenever my condition is true, I have to print a as big, and whenever my condition becomes false, I have to print b as big. So quickly go and see the compilation of this and the execution of this. See, 20 is big. That is nothing but your b. b is big. It is printing accordingly. Take some different values for your understanding and make a as big. So I'm taking some 93, my a value, and b value like 45. So in this case, which one is big? Again, the b value is small and a value is big. So a greater than b, when I say this one, automatically what will happen? This condition becomes true, isn't it? This condition becomes true, so the true block will be evaluated, and I will get a as big. Percentile d is big. That percentile d is nothing but a. So what is my a value? 93. So it will show 93 is big. Like that it will show. The program output, what it will show? It will show like 93 is big. Compilation, it is successful. Then execution, you can see 93 is big. Like that we are getting the output. So next, see, after this program, I want to show you, whatever values we are storing inside the variable, I have shown you that we are reading those values from the, we are initializing those values from the program itself, inside the program itself. So, but there is a way that you can read random values from the keyboard as well. When you are executing the program, at that point, you can read the values, random values for your variable from the keyboard at the time of execution of your program. That is also possible. So that how we can do means with the help of scanf function. There is a function, read function, scanf function. What it will do, it is a standard function, scanf function, to read the values from different sources. So using this scanf function, you can read the values from keyboard, from file, from any other external source what we have. Okay, so simply, yeah. So as we are reading the values from the keyboard, so no need to initialize. The problem of initializing the values within the program, whenever I execute the program, I will get the same output. That is the problem. See, I'm executing the program now. I'm getting the same output. 93 is big. 93 is big. Even if I execute the second time, I will get that same value, isn't it? Because what the variable values we have initialized within my program. So it is not the proper way. So to change something in your program, if you want to check other two numbers, which is big and which is small, then what you have to do, again you have to go to the program code and you have to modify the values, isn't it? You have to, again, I have, let us say, 105 and 207. I want to check the biggest number in these two. So what I am doing, again I am opening my program and again I am storing those values into my variables by using the assignment operator, and again I am compiling and executing. Okay, again I am compiling and executing. So there is less flexibility. We have less flexibility of checking different values using this simple program. And whatever program we are writing, it is not intended for one set of values only, isn't it? It is not intended for one set of values. Using that same program, we can check any number of possible values. So to make our program more flexible, instead of initializing the values within the program, what we are doing, we are reading those values at the time of execution of the program from the keyboard. So how we can do that one means, don't initialize the values within your program. Don't initialize the values within your program. Simply what you do, yeah, read them using scanf. So for that also we need to print a legitimate statement on the output screen, so that the programmer will know what he has to do when the control is waiting on the output screen. Because if you use a scanf statement, the control will wait on the output screen for input. So the programmer, he should have to know, I mean the user, he should have to know what exactly he has to do when the control is waiting on the output screen. So I will show you without this printf how it will be, and after adding printf how interactive it will become. So first, without printf, we are writing the code. So simply what I said, what statement we have to use, the scanf function we have to use, and in the first case I'm reading the a value, so %a. Okay, I'm reading the a value. Then scanf %d, I'm reading, and %b, b value I'm reading. A value I have read and b value I have read. So now what will happen? Simply save the program got saved, and then compilation is successful, and then execute, run. See, on the output screen, the control is waiting for some input. The control is waiting for some input. So what input it is waiting? Some integer input it is waiting, because we said %d. %d is related to this. This is conversion code, and %d conversion code is related to your integers. So whenever it sees this %d inside scanf, what it will do? It will wait for the input, integer input. And if you supply the integer input, that integer input it will store into this address. This %a is nothing but address of a variable. Address of variable a. Very soon you will understand this %a. So the address of a variable is nothing but %a. So immediately whatever value you pass over here, integer value you pass over here, that value will be stored inside a variable. So let us say if I store some 1300, I am giving 1300. So where this 1300 will go? At this place, at this location, %d. So that will be stored inside a variable. So a variable it is stored. Now it is asking me for one more %d, one more integer value. So that integer value, if I say 230, okay, the second integer value I supply 230, and that will go over here at this location, and that will be stored inside %b. That is nothing but inside b variable. And %b is nothing but b's address, and that second value will be stored inside b. Okay, so now we stored 1300 inside a, 230 inside b. 1300 inside a, 230 inside b. Simply hit the enter key. See, now after storing a as 1300, b as 230, then a b values it is taking and it is doing the comparison over here. A is greater than b, which is true, so it is simply printing a value as big. So percentile d is big, that percentile d is nothing but a value. A value is big, like that it is printing, and it is skipping this portion. Percentile d is big, that b value 230 it is skipping because it is not big. Okay, it is skipping. How it is doing? According to our instructions only it is doing. It is not following its own instructions. The way how we wrote the program, in that way only it is giving the output. Okay, in that way only it is giving the output. Don't think that it is doing something by its own. It is not doing at all. It is not doing whatever it is doing, we have instructed it to do. Okay, so in this way it is performing the finding the biggest number into. The problem over here is when you are executing the program, okay, it is simply waiting without giving any statement. It is simply waiting. But if you as a user, I mean if you as a programmer, you know that what entry you have to do. But if you give this application to a third person, if you give this application to a third person, he will get confused. When the control will wait, he will get confused what he has to enter. Likewise, to make your program more user friendly, or to make your program more interactive, before every scanf statement, what exactly you are reading, that thing you have to print. And that printing, how we can do? With the help of printf statement only, printf function only. That printf function I am writing over here. So printf, okay, enter, sorry, not j, enter a value, enter value for a, or enter a value, enter value for a. So like this you take, okay, then it will read the a value. Take another one, printf, here we are reading b value, isn't it? So enter value for b. So now your program will become more interactive, more user friendly. So now if you see, when you save this program and when you execute this program, the control will wait, but with a statement, but with a message it will wait. It will not simply wait, but with a message it will wait. Simply check this one. Compile, compilation is successful, and then execute, it will show you the message. Enter a value. Now I can understand that I have to give some a value over there, some value over there. So now I am giving 4500. So simply hit the enter key. Now it is asking me for the b value. B value I am giving like 3400. Okay, hit the enter key. Which one is big? 4500 is big, so it is giving 4500 as big. So this is the scanf statement inside your program. Okay, so hopefully you understood how we can make our program more user friendly, or how we can format our output more user friendly, that you might have understood. Okay, so this is the purpose of using if statement followed by else statement. If else statement, if followed by condition. If condition goes to true, the true block will be evaluated. If condition goes to false, the else part, that false block, will be evaluated. In both the cases, when the condition is true, the false block will be skipped, and when the condition is false, the true block will be skipped. This thing you have to remember. Okay, quickly we go to our program, slides. Yeah, this program for finding the biggest number into the demonstration of if else statement we have done. So quickly go and see the next thing what we have. Nested if else we have. Nested if else is something, yeah, nesting is nothing but having the same thing within the same thing. So if you have if statement, if else statement, within that if else statement, if you add another if else statement, within the if else statement, if you add another if else statement, then that program, that statement is nothing but your nested if else statement. So you read that first statement, what I have written over here. First point over here, nested if else statement means within the if else statement you can include another if else statement. Okay, within the if else statement, what we are doing, we are including another if else statement, and we are calling it as nested if else statement. Okay, the concept is very simple. Already we know what is simple if, and we also know what is if else statement. So here in nested if else, what we are doing, adding one if else statement within another if else statement. So that is nothing but your nested if else statement. Okay, so here, yeah, read the second point. It is a way towards forming multi-way selection. So as I said, using nested if else, yeah, you can either get a two-way selection or a multi-way selection as well. So it is a way, we are saying it is a way towards acquiring the multi-way selection. Okay, it is a way towards forming multi-way selection statement in C. By nesting the if else within another if else, the programmer will have the possibility of including multiple conditions, not only a single, but you can have multiple conditions within your program. Okay, with multiple conditions, there exist multiple possible paths. If you are selecting a suitable path from multiple possible paths, not only two, but from multiple possible paths, we can call it as multi-way selection statement. So this nesting of if else, it is a way to acquire. It is a way to acquire what? It is a way to acquire multi-way selection statement. In our programming, to acquire the multiple selection statement, we are using this nested if else. Okay, so go to the next one. The syntax, if you see here, yeah, if statement, we have the if statement followed by the condition or expression we are forming over here. Only this thing we discuss in today's class, and the further things like if else ladder and switch statement we'll see in another class. Okay, because it will go more complicated for you if I discuss all those things in a single class. So I suggest you to practice after the discussion. I suggest you to practice this thing so that you will get the clarity on this thing. And in our next class, we'll see the if else ladder and what we call switch case statement. Okay, here we have if followed by what we have, the expression. Okay, followed by expression. So inside this body of if, we have the another if else. Inside this body of if, we have another if else. So this is nesting of if else within another if else, within if else. So if this condition goes to true, the control will come from here to here and it will check the second condition. Okay, if this condition is true, the control will come and checks the second condition. And if second condition is also true, then what it will do? It will execute statement 1. Remember this one. Statement 1, when it will be evaluated or when it will be executed, whenever my both conditions are true. When expression 1, expression true, when both are true, then only it will execute the statement 1. Okay, let us assume if expression 1 is true and expression 2 is false, then what will happen? My statement 2 will be evaluated. Statement 2 will be executed. And when my expression 1 is false, it is no point of going to this if else, isn't it? If my expression 1 is false, the statement 3 will be evaluated. Okay, like this. We have how many paths over here? We have 3 paths. Statement 1, statement 2, statement 3. And according to the behavior of these two conditions, any of these possible paths will be selected. If both conditions are true, then statement 1 will be selected. If expression 1 is true and expression 2 is false, then statement 2 is selected. If expression 1 is false, then is no point of going to the expression 2. If expression 1 is false, then is no point of going to the expression 2. So if expression 1 is false, ultimately statement 3 will be evaluated. So like this. You can see over here. So whenever expression 1 is true, in this flowchart you can understand very clearly. Whenever the expression 1 is true, in that case only it will go to the expression 2. Because if this is true, this particular path will be selected. So if expression 1 is true, then only we are going to the expression 2. If expression 1 is false, directly we are executing statement 3 and exiting. We are not going to this entire nested if else. Okay, we are not going to this. When expression 1 is false, directly we are coming out and we are executing only statement 3. And when expression 1 is true, then only we are going for expression 2. And if expression 2 is also true, then statement 1 will be evaluated. And if expression 2 is false, then statement 2 will be evaluated like this. So using nested if else, 2 expressions are included. With 2 expressions, it is possible to include 3 statements. That is 3 different paths for execution. Already I have discussed, we have shown everything is done. Okay, so if you have two expressions means we can include three possible paths, and based on the behavior of those two expressions, any of the possible path will be selected for execution. And when what path will be selected, already I have given the clarity. When expression 1 is true, then expression 2 will be checked, and expression 2 is also true, then statement 1. If expression 2 is false, then statement 2. If expression 1 itself false, then statement 3 will be evaluated. So here we have to demonstrate with the help of that one. I mean, by including multiple conditions in our program, multiple paths in our program, we can even find out the possible biggest value within three values. So far we have done finding the biggest value in two numbers, but now we do finding the biggest value in three numbers. So that to understand, just go delete this one and start writing the program. Okay, here, yeah, in this declare variables a comma b comma c, three variables, printf, enter a value or enter value for a, enter value for a. Okay, read that value using scanf percentile d and store that value inside a. Okay, then printf, enter value for b, store that value inside b. Okay, then take another one, printf, enter value for c, store that value percentile d comma and %c inside c. Okay, after that start framing the conditions, because we have ABC in hand. So start framing the conditions. If at all my a value is greater than b, if at all my a value is greater than b, is this checking is enough to conclude a as big? No, still we have c also, isn't it? Still we have c also. That c comparison also we have to do, so that a is greater than c. So now what will happen? If a is greater than b and also a is greater than c, printf a as big, percentile d is big, and that percentile d is nothing but your a. Put the semicolon at the end, then go to the else part, and over here what you do, take another printf statement, and here you put percentile d is big. So this percentile d, the second percentile d, is nothing but your c, because if a, here we already concluded between a and b, we said a is big, so no point of b. Okay, b is smaller, b is smaller, ultimately b is smaller, so we are excluding b. Okay, so when a is coming inside it, when a is coming over here, and when you do the comparison between a and c, so already here a is bigger, we concluded. So that bigger one we have taken inside, and that bigger value we are comparing with c. And if that bigger value is bigger than c, a, which is already bigger than b, if it is bigger than c, we conclude a as big. Okay, a, which is already bigger than b, if it is smaller than c, automatically what it means? B is also smaller than c. So once again, no need to check b and c. Okay, so with that, what we are doing over here, directly we are making a statement that c is big. If this condition goes to false, the second condition goes to false, automatically what we are concluding? We are concluding that c is big. Okay, without doing any further comparison of c and b. The reason, already we compared a value with b and we concluded a as big. If b is smaller than a, then automatically what will happen? When this condition fails, b automatically becomes smaller than c as well. Hopefully you understood. So inside the else part, over here what it conclude? Inside the else part, here when the control is coming towards this else, that means a is smaller than b. So now we have to frame the condition between b and c. If b is greater than c, then conclude printf percentile d is big, okay, comma b, okay, b. Put the semicolon at the end. Next, inside the else part, printf, okay, then percentile d is big, okay. Here what value we have to print, comma c we have to print. Put the semicolon at the end, okay. So like this. So I suggest you to commit some mistakes, okay. Wantedly do some mistakes and check the output, okay. I have removed some of the things because every time I'm writing the accurate program, so you people are not understanding the errors, what type of errors we are getting, those things you are not understanding. So that is the reason why I'm making some mistakes over here. So quickly what I do, yeah, go compile. See, I got error over here. I got error. It is giving some red line over here. So what it means? I have some issues over here. So quickly check hash include stdio I have to write. But what I have written over here, sdtio I have written. So it is an error, isn't it? So how we can correct it? Simply like this, stdio dot h. Save it. Now again you compile. Okay, one more error we got over here. It is saying this semicolon is expected. Semicolon is expected before scanf. Before scanf here means over here. See, after this printf, I mean before the line, before scanf, whatever line we have written there you have to check. Whenever it is saying semicolon is expected before, means where it is giving the red line or where it is giving the error, the line before that you have to check. The line before that you have to check. So here you check, I forgot the semicolon over here. So put the semicolon at the end. Now you save and compile. Yes, here again it is giving the error. It is saying C is undeclared. C is undeclared. So we have not declared C. We have to do the declaration. We have to specify the type and we have to give the name to that C. Okay. So give that name. Okay. So now once again go compile. Yeah, it will not show any errors. Still we are having one error. See here instead of percentile D we wrote only D. But it is not showing that as an error. So simply compile it, execute it and check. Execute, and now A value I am giving like 24, B value, see it is not reading B value. Directly it is asking me C value. Why it is not reading B value means there I have not put the percentile D. Instead of percentile D I kept only D. That is the reason why it is not reading my B value. Okay, hope you understood. See, once again I will show you. So when I am trying to compile the program and when I am executing the program, it is asking me a value to input. I am giving a value as something like 650. Okay, then what it has to ask? It has to ask me the B value to input. But it is not asking me B value. Directly it is asking me C value to input. Why it is not asking B value in the sense? Because over here when you are reading the B value, you kept only D. You didn't put percentile D. So that is the reason why it is not asking me B value. It is not a syntactical error. It is a logical error or it is a runtime error we can say. So simply what you do, put percentile D and save it. Now compile. Compilation is successful. Now execute. Yeah, execution you can see. Now it is asking A value. Simply enter A value 651. Then enter B value only 1. Then enter C value 892. Okay. So which one is bigger? 892 is bigger. So 892 is big. Like that it is giving. Okay. So in this way you can frame a program with 3 paths. How many paths we have over here? I can say 4 paths we are having because 2 conditions inside if true block, 2 more conditions inside false block we have. So overall 3 conditions we kept and 4 statements we kept. So in those 4 statements we are always selecting a suitable, only one statement we are selecting. I mean whatever options, whatever values you are giving, only one value it is printing as a big value. Isn't it? Only one value it is printing as a big value. So it is selecting only one possible path among different paths. So again compile, execute and see. So enter value for A 67, enter value for B like 3, enter value for C 2 I am entering. So 67 is big. Okay, so like this it is printing the values. Hopefully you understood. Then after this we have one concept like dangling else problem, and then we have to discuss else if ladder, then switch case, then after the loops. See this dangling else problem, else if ladder, switch case I will conclude in one more class. In one more class we'll discuss these 3. and after that the loops, I will take 2 classes to conclude. Loops, they will take 2 classes to conclude, and after that we have the concept of arrays. Concept of arrays, like it will take 4 classes, hardly 4 classes. So with that we can conclude your second unit, hopefully. Thank you very much, students.